Let's start with our first news. Jon Anik just dropped a major reveal that has the MMA world buzzing. In a recent appearance, the longtime UFC commentator suggested that Ian Garry is likely next in line to challenge Islam Makhachev for the welterweight title. The statement instantly sparked debate, especially considering the rising competition in the division. Anik pointed out that, despite Michael Morales holding an undefeated record and coming off an impressive knockout win over Sean Brady, the decision for a title shot should come down to pure meritocracy and overall body of work. According to him, when you look at consistency, willingness to compete, and level of opposition, Garry stands out as the most deserving contender right now. He emphasized that Garry has consistently stepped up whenever the UFC needed him, even taking high-pressure opportunities without hesitation. That reliability, combined with his growing resume, gives him a strong case over other contenders who may have fewer top-level appearances despite strong records. Anik also acknowledged Morales as a future threat, calling him an absolute world beater with massive potential. However, he made it clear that timing matters in this sport, and right now, the momentum seems to favor Garry. If this fight gets booked, it would bring a compelling narrative back into the spotlight: Dagestan versus Ireland Part 2. Islam Makhachev previously mocked Garry, calling him the AliExpress version, which only adds more tension and intrigue to the matchup. Stylistically, this is a fascinating clash. Garry is known for his sharp striking, clean footwork, and intelligent movement inside the octagon. Over time, he has also shown clear improvements in his grappling, making him a more complete fighter than before. On the other side, Islam's elite wrestling, suffocating control, and championship-level experience present a completely different level of challenge. Anik admitted that the UFC's internal decision-making process isn't always transparent. Factors like marketability, matchup dynamics, and promotional value could all influence who gets the shot. Still, based purely on performance and consistency, he firmly believes that Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry is the fight that makes the most sense right now. Whether fans agree or not, this potential matchup is already generating serious attention, and if finalized, it could become one of the most talked about fights in the division. Move on to another news. In the main event of RAF 7, Arman delivered a dominant performance in his rematch against Georgiopoulos, securing a clear and decisive victory with a final score of 9-3. From the opening moments, Arman showcased his elite grappling skills, controlling the pace and dictating where the fight took place. Throughout the match, Arman stayed composed and calculated, constantly applying pressure and limiting any opportunity for his opponent to build momentum. His wrestling was sharp, his transitions were smooth, and his control left little room for resistance. Every exchange seemed to favor Arman, as he continued to outwork and outmaneuver Poulos on the mat. As the match progressed, it became even more evident that Arman was operating on a different level. His conditioning, technique, and overall awareness allowed him to maintain dominance from start to finish. By the time the final score was announced, there was no doubt about who the better fighter was on the night. Following the victory, Arman didn't waste any time making headlines. In a surprising move, he called out Colby Covington for a potential wrestling match next. The call-out instantly grabbed attention, as fans began imagining how that matchup could play out between two high-level grapplers. Arman's confidence was on full display, as he made it clear that he is ready for bigger challenges and is looking to test himself against well-known names. The energy after the fight reflected a fighter who is not only in top form, but also hungry to stay active and keep proving his dominance. With this performance, Arman once again reminded everyone why he is considered one of the most skilled and dangerous competitors. And his next move is already generating serious buzz in the combat sports world. Move on to another news. Colby Covington secured a strong victory over Dillon Danis, winning with a commanding score of 14-4. From the very beginning, Colby controlled the tempo of the match, using his relentless pressure and high-level wrestling to keep Danis on the defensive. Colby stayed active throughout, constantly looking for openings and capitalizing on every small mistake. His awareness and positioning allowed him to dominate exchanges, while his pace made it difficult for Danis to settle into any rhythm. At multiple points during the match, instructions like catch his elbow, use your left hand, highlighted the tactical approach being executed in real time. As the match went on, the gap in control became even more obvious. Colby's conditioning and experience played a huge role as he maintained pressure and continued scoring while limiting Danis's ability to respond. By the end, the 14-4 scoreline reflected a clear and decisive performance. Right after the match, Colby wasted no time making headlines. In a bold move, he called out Chris Weidman for a future match in RAF. The call-out immediately grabbed attention, adding more intrigue to an already eventful night. Weidman didn't stay silent for long. He quickly responded, accepting the challenge and showing full confidence by stating, "Colby Covington just called me out for a match in RAF. Offer accepted. 10-0. The response only intensified the buzz, as fans now look forward to a potential showdown between the two. With this win, Colby once again proved his dominance and ability to control high-level grappling matches. At the same time, his call-out and Weidman's acceptance have already set the stage for what could be another big moment in the RAF scene. Move on to another news. JDM is feeling extremely confident ahead of his upcoming showdown with Carlos Prates, making it clear that he believes he has what it takes to win this high-stakes matchup. Despite Prates being widely regarded as one of the most dangerous welterweights in the world, JDM doesn't seem the least bit shaken. Prates has built a reputation through impressive performances against top names like Leon Edwards, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, and Li Jingliang. His power and aggressive style have made him a fan favorite, and many see him as a serious threat to anyone in the division. However, JDM is approaching this fight with complete confidence. The two are set to headline the UFC Fight Night card on May 2nd, taking place in Perth, Australia, which gives JDM the advantage of fighting in front of his home crowd. Speaking about the matchup, JDM expressed genuine excitement, calling it a high-level striking battle between two top contenders. He acknowledged Prates' appeal and skill set, but made it clear that he believes in his own abilities. JDM stated that he has the tools to outclass Prates and is looking forward to proving it inside the octagon. His calm but confident tone shows a fighter who is focused and ready for the challenge ahead. This fight also marks JDM's first appearance since losing the welterweight title to Islam Makhachev at UFC 322. Reflecting on that loss, JDM didn't hold back. He described the performance as disappointing, admitting that he wasn't able to execute his game plan and simply wasn't good enough on the night. He openly acknowledged that there were things he should have done differently and accepted the loss as part of the sport. Rather than making excuses, JDM is choosing to learn from the setback and move forward with a stronger mindset. On the other side, Prates is coming in with serious momentum after scoring a knockout victory over Leon Edwards at the same event. Recently, footage surfaced showing Prates in intense sparring sessions, further highlighting his preparation and dangerous form. With both fighters bringing skill, confidence, and momentum into this matchup, the anticipation continues to build. JDM is determined to bounce back and reclaim his position, while Prates is looking to continue his rise and make another statement. Move on to another news. In the main event of the night, Joe Pyfer delivered a massive statement by defeating Israel Adesanya via second-round TKO. It was a shocking and decisive finish that sent waves across the MMA world, marking Izzy's fourth consecutive defeat and raising serious discussions about his future. Early in the fight, Izzy looked sharp and aggressive, pushing the pace and trying to impose his striking. However, that aggression would ultimately cost him. As the fight progressed, Pyfer stayed composed, weathered the early storm, and patiently waited for the right moment to strike. When the opportunity came, Pyfer didn't hesitate. He capitalized on Izzy's overextension, landed clean, and secured the finish in dominant fashion. It was a career-defining moment, and many believe this was the biggest win of his career so far. The MMA community quickly reacted. Francis Ngannou showed support for Izzy, telling him to keep his head up. Ariel Helwani called it a huge milestone for Pyfer, emphasizing how significant the win was. Gilbert Burns also reacted, expressing sympathy for Izzy while praising Pyfer as the real deal. Other fighters and analysts shared similar thoughts. Some pointed out that Izzy became too aggressive and drifted away from his usual composed style. He had success early, but began throwing labored shots and lost control of the fight. Pfeiffer, on the other hand, stuck to a smart game plan, stayed patient, and executed when it mattered most. There were also mixed opinions, with some believing Izzy was actually performing well before the finish. Still, many agreed that his desire to chase the knockout led to costly mistakes. Even so, several voices in the community insisted that Izzy still has what it takes to compete at the highest level. After the fight, Pfeiffer delivered an emotional and passionate speech. He declared his arrival among the top contenders, reminding everyone of his record and his hunger to reach the top. He expressed gratitude, faith, and love, dedicating the victory to his journey and the people closest to him. Full of energy and confidence, Pfeiffer made it clear that he is here to stay. He embraced the moment, celebrated the win, and showed the mindset of a fighter who believes this is just the beginning of something even bigger. Move on to another news. The MMA community had a huge reaction following the shocking result between Israel Adesanya and Joe Pfeiffer, with fighters and analysts quickly sharing their thoughts on what went down inside the cage. Bilal Muhammad gave his take, saying Izzy was actually looking sharp and on point early in the fight, but things changed when he started chasing the finish. According to him, Izzy became reckless, which ultimately opened the door for Pfeiffer to capitalize. Gilbert Burns echoed a similar sentiment, expressing sympathy for Izzy while also giving full credit to Pfeiffer. He made it clear that, despite the tough loss for Izzy, Joe Pfeiffer is the real deal and proved it on a massive stage. Lewis Simpson highlighted the harsh reality of the sport, pointing out that it was another tough night for Izzy and noting that this marks 4 straight losses. He emphasized how unforgiving MMA can be, even for the very best. Steffi Haynes shared a more emotional perspective, saying she predicted Pfeiffer would win, but was still rooting for Izzy. She acknowledged Izzy's incredible run at the top, while also recognizing that time eventually catches up to every fighter. Luke Thomas offered a more serious reflection, calling Israel Adesanya one of the very best to ever compete in the division. However, he also suggested that it might be time to start thinking about the possibility of Izzy nearing the end of his fighting career. Matt Brown focused on the performance itself, stating that Izzy actually looked hungry and performed well in moments. Still, he credited Pfeiffer's game plan, toughness, and determination, noting that he never stopped pushing forward and chasing the finish. Aaron Bronstetter broke it down technically, explaining that Izzy had Pfeiffer in a difficult position early but became too aggressive. As Izzy began to slow down and throw more labored shots, he drifted away from his usual style and lost control of the fight. Pfeiffer stayed patient, weathered the storm, and found the perfect opening to secure the finish. Overall, the reaction across the MMA world reflects both respect for Izzy's legacy and recognition of Pfeiffer's breakout performance, making this one of the most talked about moments coming out of RAF 7. Move on to another news. Alexander Volkanovski's team has made it very clear that they are not interested in a fight with Gene Silva, despite Silva's recent efforts to push for that matchup. Silva has been actively campaigning to be the next challenger, making noise and trying to position himself as the leading option, but it seems that approach isn't working. According to comments from Volkanovski's coach, Joe Lopez, Silva is simply not deserving of that opportunity at this stage. He dismissed Silva's call-outs, criticizing him for trying to talk his way into a big fight rather than earning it through performances. Lopez made it clear that making noise won't be enough, and Silva still has work to do before being considered. On the other hand, Movsar Evloev appears to be in a much stronger position. He recently extended his undefeated record to 20-0 with a win over Lerone Murphy. However, that victory didn't come without controversy. Some observers felt the fight was extremely close, with a few even believing it could have gone the other way. Evloev's grappling-heavy style has also drawn criticism from fans, who often prefer more exciting, striking-based fights. Silva even pointed this out while making his case, suggesting that his own style would make for a more entertaining matchup against Volkanovski. Still, from a rankings and merit standpoint, Evloev is seen as the more deserving contender. His consistent wins and unbeaten record put him ahead in the title picture, regardless of how fans feel about his style. Lopez even acknowledged Evloev's position, showing respect for his long run in the division. Lopez also shared his thoughts on the Evloev versus Murphy fight, saying that realistically, it could have been scored a draw. However, he admitted he was glad it didn't end that way, as it would have complicated the division even further. He emphasized that Evloev has been grinding for a long time and has earned his place near the top. In contrast, Silva is still relatively fresh off a loss to Diego Lopez, which further weakens his case for a title shot. Overall, Volkanovski's camp seems focused on matchups that are based on merit and rankings rather than hype, making it clear that Silva is not currently in their plans, while Evloev continues to build a strong case for the next opportunity.